Hey y'all, I'm back. The Poppy Playtime Chapter 5 ARG has updated. It updated a couple of days ago. I've been avoiding spoilers as much as possible, and I'm just not getting around to watching some of my favorite theorist videos on the new findings. First up is Sheep Rampage. So let's get into it.
The Chapter 5 ARG just got a huge update that includes tons of new teasers, documents, puzzles, a new character reveal, and even a new VHS tape that, I kid you not, might give us the biggest reveal we've had in years. So 1 week ago, we had the first major update to the Chapter 5 ARG, focused on Catnap and a few other things. However, fast forward to today, the Discord account that was chatting with us before, named Seeing Reason, would finally return.
She's back,
but
Seeing
not by
Reason.
talking to us like she did last time, rather by going online and mysteriously editing her profile. Specifically, she made her online status this weird string of text and made her bio this weird string of text. Now, interestingly, if we simply combine the two texts, we are given one working link that, when putting into our browser, redirects us to a Bandcamp link, a music distribution website, specifically bringing us to a full-blown album posted by someone named CatBFan95 from Michigan, with a bio reading, "Back in the 90s, my dad used to work for a toy company. He left a lot of audio recordings when he died."
Whoa.
The album itself is titled Con Am 1992 Mix, featuring this cover art, which is a clearer look at this playground room that we saw in the last ARG. And the album is described, Con Am Ambient Mix 1992, digitized from original SA90 compact cassettes, though some sample.
Okay, sorry for pausing. I'm thinking about, what was it, last week or a couple of days ago? They called them the lullaby rooms. And this kid, apparently, when they were a kid, their dad used to work at Playtime. Did he make this music? Do we know who her dad is? Speculation, but sorry, just putting the neurons are connecting in my brain. Might be a lot of pauses in this video as I think out loud.
With the recordings appear to originate from vinyl. Album art sourced from a photograph, likely taken around the same time. Don't remember seeing any of this on factory tours though. Released December 19th, 1996, a year after the Hour of Joy. Now this page is very interesting because it confirms, for one, that the factory does take place in Michigan, which was something hinted at all the way back in 2022.
I didn't know that.
Project Playtime, but is now being revisited and confirmed. And we get a look at somebody who lost a parent in the Hour of Joy. It's possible that this could even be Seeing Reason, since they're the ones that sent us here. However, furthermore, when actually listening and breaking down the music that we get here, things are pretty interesting. I'll leave a link down below to the page because there is literally like 20 minutes of original music in here, some of which possibly for Chapter 5 that you'll definitely want to check out. But what's important about this music is that fans suspected hiding inside was a spectrogram puzzle. A spectrogram, if you didn't know, is essentially a visual way of documenting sound that looks like this. However, it's commonly used in ARG.
Hey, pause. I'm gonna rewind real quick because he said something that I had also been thinking about how Seeing Reason could also be someone who isn't inside the factory. I know last week I said I thought Seeing Reason was still a Graber or some other person who survived the Hour of Joy who's in the factory, but it could also be someone who's outside the factory. I was also thinking that, but I was more interested. I was not more interested, but more into the idea that it was someone who survived but who was still trapped in the factory. But it very well could be someone who is alive, well and alive, outside of the factory, apparently living in Michigan. I had no idea that it was thought that this took place in Michigan. It was confirmed. I had no idea. I just thought it was in like some made up land. I don't know. But yeah, Seeing Reasons could definitely be a person who knew someone in the factory, but they survived. They're alive and outside of the factory. Could very well be.
to hide different clues and messages in plain sight that can't be heard when listening to the music, but when dissecting the audio can be seen. So when downloading all of this music and displaying it through a spectrogram, there were a few interesting findings. In the second song, the text DRFO and 1J can be found. In the fourth song, the text IVE, LDER, and GBJJ can be found. The seventh song has this long string of text hiding in it. And finally, the ninth song
Another
has
website?
this even longer string
Looks like
of text
website.
attached to it. Now, looking at all of the pieces here, people were honestly stuck for a while on what to do. When
Okay,
combined
pause.
with the
Hold on. The music that I play in the background is doing something weird. I don't like it. There we go. That was annoying the hell out of me.
text, it all just looks like a bunch of gibberish and doesn't appear to match any kind of cipher or puzzle or any other way of decoding it. That is until people, namely the Discord user Dridgel,
Dridgel is the
that
goat.
the text is intentionally put on separate lines, giving him the idea to take the images themselves and put them side by side physically, which now gives us a real cohesive piece of
Like,
text
how do you even
reading out
think
the
of
end
that?
of a Google Drive link. When taking this link and entering it into a browser, we are brought to a folder named System Recovery Data, hiding a zip folder named Recovered. When downloading the zip folder, we are given a ton, including 9
Oh
PNG
my
images
God.
and a zipped up file. Now, the zipped file, like the last ARG, is locked up, meaning we would need a password to get inside, but for now, let's break down the images we already have.
There's
The
so
first
much,
photo
holy
here shows some kind of barrel, some pipes, and some machine.
Leans in. I'd also say that might look like also like a weird camera lens, but yeah, looks like he's like, this is taken. Looks like string lights. Does that not? To me, that looks like string lights. Interesting. Word of the day.
Here,
Interesting.
that presumably will be in chapter 5, but otherwise doesn't hide that much. Similarly, the second file shows another barrel-shaped thing with a window that doesn't really tell us anything. In the third image, we see something a little bit more interesting, as there appears to be some kind of water bottle and a cup laying here, while a drawing of some kind of pattern appears.
Survivors? Did I not also say that last week, that I think that there's no way there weren't survivors. There's no way. There's no way there were not survivors of the Hour Joy. Either held captive by the prototype and the other toys experiments, or people who just straight up survival skills on 10,000 have been able to survive this whole time.
Here that I honestly can't really make out. It looks like it could be the face of a character, although I'm not 100% certain. In image number 4, once again, we see what appears to be some kind of barrels in a dark, ambiguous room with little more. In image 5, we see some kind of a blurry mess. There's some hooks in the background that match up with some hooks
Looks
in
like an
the
eyeball.
room we saw from a previous teaser. And I don't know why I can't see it, but people are saying that this thing right here is some kind of character. I don't know exactly
Yeah, it looks like an
how,
eyeball.
but if you see something here, let me know in the comments below, because I really don't. The most interesting part about this file, though, is in the last 4 images, as they show some kind of written letter taking place a few days after the Hour of Joy that tell us quite a bit. August 11th. If anyone is left, they must be few and far between. We haven't seen a single living soul besides our experiments. They're organized, and we've been hearing increasingly concerning noises coming from a few rooms over. I have no idea what they're doing, and I'd rather not stick around to find out. August 12th, the Poppy doll saw us. All 3 of us. We
Oh my God. Survivors. Fucking survivors. Oh
like
my
deer
God.
in headlights. us, waiting for her to scream for something larger to come tear us to pieces. We begged her not to. She looked tired, like she'd been crying. Guilt, perhaps? Something else? She said she couldn't promise somebody else wouldn't find us here, adding that if anyone grilled her, she'd have to tell them or there'd be quote-unquote consequences. If that doesn't happen, she said, she'll pretend she never saw us. She's always struck me as a strange one. I don't trust her, but I suppose we don't have a choice. Unknown date. Decided to find another spot after our run-in with Poppy. Lost count of the days. No clocks where we are right now. No sun to tell time by. Circadian rhythm feels shot. Everything is one long blurring night, and we're always tired. And hungry, but that's a separate issue. What I don't understand is why the experiments are still down here. Why don't they just leave? Another
Ain't that the mother question? Because the prototype literally won't let them leave. Oh my god. I can't believe Mop is just giving us stuff like this. So this not only confirms that yes, there were survivors, but they were moving around trying to stay alive. Freaking Poppy knew that there were survivors, didn't do anything about it. She probably couldn't if she wanted to, because obviously the prototype changed his plans on her in the last minute, which is why they probably said, oh, she looks like she was crying, and that's why she said she couldn't do anything, but she won't say anything. Holy crap, I can't believe Mob is just giving us this stuff right now.
No date. Something is inside the walls. It's the same sound as before, but
the prototype?
It's closer now. Supplies low, tired, can't stay here. Then somebody that came across the note added to it, saying, can't believe I found this thing after all this time. I wonder if you're still around here somewhere so I can return it to you. Who am I kidding? I found your name tag too. Put it back in your desk because it just seemed like the right thing to do. I know you cared. I know you tried. Sorry things turned out this way, Dr. Willard. Now guys, this
not
is
a name.
insane.
Oh
Because
my
one,
god.
we're learning here that there were actually some kind of...
I know you tried, I know you cared. So was this Dr. Willard one of the people that began trying to go against Playtime Co.? Possibly. I know you tried, I know you cared. Holy crap. Let me listen to the video play.
Survivors of the Hour of Joy that were stuck inside logging down what was happening around them. They even had a run-in with Poppy, who at this time must have been free before being put into her case, and was roaming around the factory, albeit scared and seemingly guilty. And speaking of Poppy, while I don't really know what to make of this for now, I do find it very interesting that for some reason PW couldn't bring himself to trust her. I'm really curious on why that is. However, what's most interesting is that clearly the writer of this note ended up dying or having something bad happen to them.
Wait, PW. PW stands for Willard. How did I skip over that? Holy, so Preston Willard was his name.
Writing in the red text saying, sorry things turned out this way, Dr. Willard. Now, you might not recognize Dr. Willard, but oh boy are they important. Because a couple days before this update, over on the last ARG VHS...
There he is!
Catnap,
that was the guy, not you.
At some point updated the description of the video to give credits to the scientist actors who played as Dr. Jessica Newman, the female, and most interestingly,
Jessica
Willard.
Newman, she was also in the Braun tape, if I'm not mistaken. I love the continuity of that. Still using the same actress. Preston Willard. Wow.
Confirming the dude in this tape, as we suspected, was in fact PW, and sadly, here, this more than likely confirms he died. Meaning that, unlike popular theory suggests, he actually isn't the player, and instead was just one of the many casualties of the Hour.
Yeah, I thought that he might have also been the player too. I thought that PW could have been the player, but I more so thought that he was still alive in the factory, but maybe had been turned into an experiment by now by the prototype. That was my main thought that could have happened to PW, but unfortunately, he died.
Hell dog, this right here, this goes out to all our fallen homies, yo. Come on.
Hey, yo, real talk.
All right.
After all
R.I.P.
this time, then what exactly happened to him? Well, we still had one more file, the password locked file. And going back to the seemingly meaningless teaser photos in the recovered folder, two of them actually hide some interesting hidden text. This one here at the bottom left, we could find the words, "what you seek," while in this image here, we could find the words, "you shall never find." Now, at first, this set of words doesn't really tell us that much, even when put together. However, when researching the phrase itself, it is often associated with the poem, The Epic of Gilgamesh, an ancient poem that detailed the character Gilgamesh attempting to find immortality, only to learn that death is an imminent part of human life, and no matter how far he looked, immortality was never found, and his solution was actually just to accept death rather than try to escape it. Now, this poem could
Something
certainly
the
have
Playtime
some
Company
implications related to
should
the
have
lore, especially
thought of
with
themselves.
the whole escaping mortality thing, since after all, it's been suggested in the lore that a big reason for all of this experimentation going on was so that way the factory participants could figure out how to live forever as a toy. But for the sake of the ARG, the character Gilgamesh happened to be the password for the locked up file from before. When unlocking and opening the file named Plea, we are given this image of a Playtime Co. computer
Plea.
that appears to be an unblurred version of this image that we saw during the Catnap VHS tape. What we see here is PW sending an email to Stella Graber with the subject, "End of my rope," telling her, "We need to talk. Do you feel the same?" Now, what exactly is PW talking about with Stella?
Did he?
Well, hang on to that question, because
Was he and Stella in cahoots? Because I'm telling y'all, and not just me, a lot of people think Stella may have been a part of the downfall of Playtime Co.
if we take this
Have no
image and
words.
stretch it out a bit while applying some effects, we could find a set of letters and numbers right here, which, like what happened in
How the hell do y'all even
Catnap
figure that
image
out?
in the last video, is a YouTube ID. Attach it to the end of youtube.com, and just like that, we are brought to a brand new VHS tape titled Restricted Condemnation 1995. Now, the video essentially documents the survival of two scientists after the Hour of Joy, PW or Preston Willard and Jessica Newman, the ones from the Catnap VHS tape, of course, who we hear discussing the Hour of Joy and their lives, at least until the end where things go sour. And going scene by scene, the tape starts off
God,
by
it was that
showing
weird
off
tool.
this weird baseball device thing that you might recognize was hiding in a couple previous art teasers from a few months ago that makes a reappearance here for a reason that I don't know, while the sounds of the Hour of Joy ring throughout the labs. Then we cut to August 8th at 14:07, a few hours after the Hour of Joy. We get this shot of the aftermath in the labs while we hear the two scientists talking to each other.
Things are quiet up there. Not sure if that's good or bad.
Someone will come for us. We just need to sit tight.
Jessica?
They'll send a team, specialists probably. It's going to be one hell of a cleanup operation.
The tape flashes to August 13th, 1995, a couple days later, and we see them mapping out a potential escape from the factory. While they
Oh my god,
discuss
boss. Sorry.
over a
What if in chapter 5, like, we follow the footsteps of Jessica and Preston escaping? Like, maybe they did find an escape route, but they weren't able to. Obviously, they died, but they weren't able to fully escape before they got. That'll be cool. But then at the end, we have to make a decision. Do we want to escape? Or do we want to stay and finish off the unfinished business that is Playtime Co. in the prototype? That'd be pretty cool.
one of the lab's cameras, we see some mysterious creature roaming throughout the area. Fast forwarding to August 18th, 10 days after the Hour of Joy, the two reflect on what will happen if they escape the factory alive.
Once we're out, where will you go?
Well, I suppose I'd owe my wife a few explanations, wouldn't I? Not that that makes up for anything.
At least you have a life to go back to. Growing up in play care, running back as soon as I had my degree. My entire life was here.
That's crazy. She
Sad.
was a
I never
play care
thought about
kid.
it that way. Not until this.
Suddenly, PW starts to get a wave of guilt as he says,
Well, maybe this is what we get. All we've done for
he begins to reflect on past documents and images that we've seen before in the past, and at first, Jessica tries to comfort him on his guilt he felt, saying that he did a good job.
What's crazy is that Jessica knew, she grew up as a play care kid, knew what the fuck was going on, and decided to come back and help out. That's crazy. She probably deserves like the worst death. Because how could you?
I'm supposed to feel sorry for that bitch. I don't.
Until he had something to admit to her.
Preston, you don't need to.
I just couldn't stand by and watch it happen anymore.
What are you saying?
I had no other choice.
You let them. You let them. And you didn't think we would do something like this? Tell me this is some kind of joke. My God, how could you do that?
Not just me. There were others, and we all knew this wasn't right.
He confirms here that he and quote-unquote other people, being Stella Graber, as we saw in this email image, had intentionally let out the experiments to cause the Hour of Joy.
I'm trying so hard not to scream. Where the hell is Stella? Because what? Oh my God. I have no words. But also, how the hell Mob is gonna drop these bombs on us in the ARG? Just imagine what we're gonna find out in the actual game. Confirmed. Stella knew and she helped out. Holy. Oh my God.
Now, this explains so much about why PW is important and how the Hour of Joy happened. There was apparently a group of people, at least including Stella and PW, that responded to the experimentation happening by letting all of the monsters out and having them destroy the factory, along with everyone inside of it. Now, while this is an insane detail, obviously Jessica wasn't too happy about this and began to argue with him, but they were quickly interrupted. An experiment that appears to be Huggy breaks down the door that was barricading them off, and they quickly run away. We get a few shots of PW panicking as he tries to escape, only for him to lose Jessica, and while the Huggy noises seemingly faded behind him, he quickly ran into a different kind of creature that knocked him down and grabbed onto him, presumably killing him, which was where the tape ends. Now, outside of this absolutely massive reveal that the Hour of Joy...
Pause. Wait, no.
Okay.
No, rewind. That hand that grabs the tape, does it not look like the silhouette of that... Yeah, I remember that video from the last update, Kissy and Huggy, and I was like, oh my God, that... the creature looks tall, hugging Kissy in the cartoon version. It's like the red fur, yellow hand. It kind of looks like that.
Appears to be Huggy, breaks down the door that was barricading them off, and they quickly run away. We get a few shots of PW panicking as he tries to escape, only for him to lose Jessica, and while the Huggy noises seemingly faded behind him, he quickly ran into a different kind of creature that knocked him down and grabbed onto him,
Big enough to knock a grown man down.
presumably killing him, which was where...
Look at that. Oh, I can't pause in time, but the silhouette of it just looks like
him, which
that creature. Yes.
ends. months. Now, outside of this absolutely massive reveal that the Hour of Joy was a planned action by certain employees in the factory, there's also a couple other notable things here. Like, for one, Jessica said that she had no real friends or family, as she had grown up inside of Playcare, only to come back as a scientist. This likely explains why she was so numb to the idea of experimenting on these toys, since after all, she never grew up with a real idea on how morals were meant to work. She's lived around Playtime Co. all her life after all. Furthermore, in this shot, we see what looks like some kind of map of the labs that has a couple notable things. They label the Playcare and the shelf, which is kind of like the code name for the prison, and other more ambiguous stuff. Like here, we can see what looks like a house, and over here, we see some text that says avoid. I don't know how accurate this is to the labs we'll see in game, but I'm curious to see what's in that room if it is. While, of course, the big reveal at the end is that we see PW run into an entirely new character who, going frame by frame, appears to have a large body with a thin neck at the top and head area, and also from the hand is very furry. Now, to me, this obviously seems like it's meant to be the red character seen from the corrupted commercial in the last ARG update. Notice that they conveniently only let us see the hand on that tape, and here our only good look at the beast is in their hand. I think they're definitely trying to call reference to each other, and they physically appear similar as well. This makes me believe that this beast will be one of the lab's main enemies, if that wasn't obvious already, along with Huggy, and that this chapter will, in a lot of ways, be a retelling of what we're seeing in this VHS tape, running from all of these surviving experiments that lurked Playtime Co. Plus, who knows, if this is a real location that ends up being in the game, we could even see the remaining body of PW, at least if he wasn't already eaten. Now,
that would be crazy. But also, we didn't, in that, I had to go and watch this video myself, but just because, like, he got stopped, it doesn't mean that they killed him, you know? Same with Jessica. They still could very well be alive, or like I said, maybe turn into an experiment. Maybe. So my theory that PW is still alive, but an experiment could still be true, just because we didn't see their death on tape. So maybe.
A couple of questions here. Not everything is answered. Like in this note, PW says that there were 3 of them that survived the Hour of Joy, while in the tape we only see himself and Jessica. I'm not exactly sure why. I also wonder who the person that wrote in this red text was. Clearly it was an employee that knew PW because they put their name tag back in their desk, so obviously they'd have to know them. A good theory I've seen is that maybe Jessica survived the attack and ended up coming across his body later. I've also seen people say it looks a lot like the handwriting from the original note that we got in chapter 1. So
I feel like maybe, I don't think Jessica would be this kind, because she doesn't seem like a very kind person. She seems very detached. Like I said, numb. They said numb in the video. I don't think this is Jessica. I think maybe it's a what are the words that I am trying to think of? A more intelligent experiment, possibly. Or it could be a surviving human. But I don't think it's Jessica though. But yeah, these handwriting does look familiar, but there's grammatical errors though in this one. In the Find the Flower one, so I don't know.
Maybe they could be the same writer. I'm not exactly sure. Plus, speaking on the two, when PW and Jessica Newman were arguing about the ethics of letting all the experiments out, he very clearly seemed surprised about everything that happened, like he wasn't expecting all of the toys to go rogue and kill everyone. So now I'm left wondering what his actual goal with the Hour of Joy was. Did he just want someone to find the experiments and report them to police? Did he only want them to kill a few?
I think, just like with Poppy, he was tricked. Because the prototype tricked Poppy, apparently, according to Poppy. So maybe he had an idea that something else was going to happen, something he was told was going to happen, but then obviously he wasn't planning on this. I think either Poppy told him something different. Well, no, because he was surprised that he saw the Poppy doll in his notes. maybe Stella told him something else was going to happen, but they all were shocked. People were lied to. I think the prototype lied to a lot of people.
I'm not exactly sure, especially when this ended with him seemingly dying. Although some people deny that, because I've seen a lot of people theorizing that PW maybe didn't die. They alluded to it, but never explicitly said it. So maybe somehow he escaped, or maybe he even got turned into some kind of experiment. That would make sense as well. Also,
because
at
it's
the
not
forefront of this
explicitly
VHS
said
tape
or shown
at the very beginning and in the thumbnail is this weird baseball device. When are we gonna learn what this is? I assume it's gonna be some kind of gameplay mechanic we're going to pick up inside of the labs, but to be honest, despite us finally seeing it, we know basically nothing. But once again, guys, this is where we sit today. The common belief is that these ARG updates are going to come weekly up until Chapter 5's release, since both updates thus far have come on Wednesdays, 1 week apart, which is also the same day of the week that Chapter 5 releases, meaning we will likely have more info in a week's time. But to make sure you don't miss any updates, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.
It's crazy. So it was a bigger drop than I was expecting. But the bombshell that Stella was in on it. PW was in on it. So many. Who all was in on this? Who? Also, if Mob is telling us all this information, are y'all gonna have anything left for Chapter 5? Oh my god. Oh my god.